session 3 of God is King. And yesterday we saw how the Israelites rejected God as their king and chose to have an earthly or human king. But of course these human kings could never live up to God, the true king. Even their greatest king, King David, had failures. But God promised David that his throne would be established forever. Then we have prophecies in the Old Testament of the true king who is to come. Isaiah 9:6, "For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing it and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever." And of course we read that every Christmas because we now know that that refers to Jesus. He is the one true king. God was the true king over the Israelites, despite their many earthly kings and their failures. Jesus came to show us the Father. Colossians 1:15, "The Son is the image of the invisible God." So Jesus came as king. And again, this is prophesied by the prophets. In Zechariah it says, "Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion, shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and having salvation, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." And so as Jesus rode into Jerusalem, he was making the statement that here comes your king. When the angel visited Mary and told her that she would bear the child, he said this: "He would reign over the house of Jacob forever, his kingdom will never end." Jesus came as the true king to establish the kingdom ruled by God. After his resurrection, we read this, Paul writes, "For he raised Christ from the dead and seated him at the right hand in the heavenly realm, far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that can be invoked, not only in the present age, but in the age to come. And God placed all things under his feet, and appointed him to be head over everything for the church, which is the body, the fullness of him." And then in 1 Corinthians 15 he writes this: "Then the end will come, when he hands over the kingdom of God to the Father, after he's destroyed all dominion, authority and power. For he must reign until he's put all enemies under his feet. And the last enemy to be destroyed is death." Jesus, the one true king, he's the head over everything. And until the enemies of the kingdom are destroyed, when they are, then he hands the kingdom back to his Father. His work is complete, his work of reconciling humanity and God. And this is the kingdom that we now live in. Jesus is the absolute monarch. He's been given all power and authority. But his kingdom, his rule, is different from what we tend to understand as a king and kingdom. When he'd fed the crowd of 5,000 people, it says they wanted to make him king, but Jesus knew that they didn't understand what being king really meant, and so he withdrew. And then, of course, when Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he said, "Well, yes, but my kingdom's not of this world, because if it had been a worldly kingdom, all my followers would have fought to stop me from being arrested." We live in that kingdom, and we need to explore what it means to be part of the kingdom, what it means for us in our daily lives.